Welcome back, Vaqueros, and today I am so excited to share this video with you. Now, this video in particular is going to be one of two. We're going to be going over the best high-risk, high-reward shotguns in Warzone currently. With the meta settling down, I think it's time we get into this. Now, like I said, this is one of two. We're going to go over the high-risk, high-reward shotguns in Warzone first, and then the next video will be the best overall shotguns to use in Warzone. The difference is that these in this particular video are high risk, high reward. They're going to be very hard to use for people who are new to the game, who are not really that great at movement, who don't know how to choose their engagements and don't know how to deal with really slow fire rate weapons. If you know how to do that, if you know how to maneuver well, these guns on this list are going to be some of the most strong weapons you've probably ever used because of their ridiculous time to kills and how good they can be. But there's trade-offs to that. Now in the next video, it's going to be more focused on the ones that are better for most players. You don't have to have the greatest movement, although it helps, to use them. So for this video, let's get into the best high risk, high reward shotguns in Warzone currently. And I will have class setups for them in this video. So if you want to know, check out the timestamps below in the description, and let's just get into it with no particular order.
Oh my, what an idiot.
How? What the
Nice work.
Starting this list with a relatively tame one is the 725 with the sawed-off barrel. If you've used this before, you probably had some good kills with it because it's one of the most consistent two-shot guns in the whole entire game, and there's a reason for that. Now, normally without the sawed-off barrel, this gun is one of the worst in the game. The 725 is not good at all, but with the sawed-off barrel, it changes the damage profile, and you deal roughly 60 damage per pellet. It used to be 50, but then it got buffed, so now it's around that 60 mark. So with one shot, you deal around 180 damage per shot out to about 4.6 meters. Some of you that are math inclined might notice the numbers seem kind of weird. Well, that's because the nice thing about the 725 with this barrel is that you only need 3 of your 8 pellets to hit to actually get the max damage out of this shotgun, which is that 180 damage. It is the only shotgun like that because the rest in this entire game, you need 4 of your 8 pellets, or half basically, to get the most damage out of your shotgun. So this one, less pellets, but great consistent damage, and out to a pretty respectable range of about 4.6 meters. That's with no attachments. This is the class setup I generally recommend for this gun. The sawed-off barrel is key, but really for the muzzle, you can use the monolithic suppressor or the choke. They give you a little bit of range. We're talking like maybe 1 to 2/10 of a meter of range, but really the reason to use these is because A, you can stay off the radar with the suppressor, and then B, if you're using the choke, you get a really tight pellet spread compared to if you didn't have it, so it makes it even more consistent. And of course, you want to use sleight of hand. The big thing about this shotgun is it has a reload every 2 shots, which is going to get you killed if you're not careful. So sleight of hand is going to mitigate that and take it down to about 800 milliseconds with the quick reload. And so that's really essential to making this thing work a lot better. I don't recommend using it without sleight of hand. So that is why the 725, in my opinion, is one of the best high risk, high reward shotguns out there. It's easily one of the most consistent. So now let's get into the next one.
This is Phoenix 3. Strike inbound.
Oh my god.
Let's be the last.
Up next, we have my beloved Model 680 shotgun with Dragon's Breath. Ever since Modern Warfare came out, this has been one of my favorite shotguns in all of Call of Duty history because it's so beautifully designed. And in Warzone, it's had its ups and downs, but more recently with the buff it got, it's a really great shotgun. And the reason for that is because this is really the marksman rifle of the shotgun category. This has the best 2-shot kill range for all of the pump action shotguns and for all the shotguns really that use buckshot. This thing is an incredible menace. With its buff, it can down a player in 1 shot if they only have 2 plates, and you can 2-shot people out to about 11 meters if you're using the big sport barrel with the Marauder suppressor. That is a lot of range, and this thing is insanely fun to use, but again, it only has a rate of fire of about 71 rounds per minute. That is incredibly bad. The time to kill, if you're getting 2 shots, is at least 845 milliseconds. If you have to wait for the burn to kick in a little bit, it's going to take take just slightly longer, but that is a very slow time to kill for something where you just don't really have much range for a shotgun. At least, I mean, 11 meters, let's be honest, isn't much compared to like an SMG or an AR. But in terms of shotguns, this thing is a menace. You just have to know how to move, and with the sport barrel, you have 10 rounds in the tube, which is plenty to deal with in quads and trios. But of course, if you're going to use it in those game modes, you have to be aware of the slow fire rate, and you need to maneuver well. So for this class in particular, you're going to be very slow with all these attachments. No stock is going to kind of help offset that. But of course, you want to stack this thing with range, just go for it. If the sport barrel is a little too slow, use the Liberator barrel instead. You can still two-shot out to 10 meters. And of course, Dragon's Breath is key. That is absolutely key. You do not want to use this thing without it. There's no point. Dragon's Breath really is the way to go. So for the 680, I love it. I really encourage you guys to check it out and use this as sort of your marksman rifle shotgun. Place your shots well, get the hell in and out of cover, and enjoy.
Taking fire.
Fuck that weak ass shotty.
Now it's time to get in what most people consider toxic territory, because we're going to be using the Jak-12, and this is the Jak-12 with Dragon's Breath. Most people haven't used this because you only get 8 rounds, but I'm here to tell you, you absolutely should. The Jak-12 normally is a 4-shot kill, but with Dragon's Breath, it magically turns it into a 3-shot kill like it used to be at 250 health. So with it, you're going to be getting that unbelievably great time to kill of about 400 milliseconds. The great thing too about this gun is that its range is pretty dang excellent. Now up to 3.6 meters in its max damage range, no attachments, it'll 3-shot EOD on or off. It will just kill people in 3 shots if you're consistent with your shot placement. The burn damage is going to make quick work of them, and it's going to kill people pretty easily. Now in that next range, which is about 3.6 to about 8.9 meters, which is already really good, it can still 3-shot players who don't have EOD on because of the burn damage. If they have EOD on, it's going to take 4 shots, but if they don't, a lot of people are rocking Serpentine or something else now, like Cold-Blooded, you can 3-shot people out to 8.9 meters. That's no attachments, guys. That is a 400 millisecond, roughly, with the burn, I guess, excluded, millisecond time to kill out to 8.9 meters. No attachments. But if you use that Marauder suppressor and the influx barrel, so the second best barrel for range, which I recommend, the range goes to 11.8 meters. And with that time to kill at that range, it's just absolutely ridiculous. This is something that a lot of people sleep on. I don't think I've ever been killed by it, and I'm kind of amazed how I haven't been. Now, of course, you only have 8 shots. That is a huge detriment in a game mode like this with trios and quads, because most people take 3 or 4 or 5 shots sometimes. But you need to use sleight of hand, and with sleight of hand, it makes this thing so much more manageable. And honestly, this shotgun is insane. I'm amazed people really haven't caught on to it. I guess a lot of people might consider it toxic, but it's hilarious. It's such a good shotgun, and as long as you're aiming down sights and you're hitting those targets out past 7 meters, they're gonna die in 3 or 4 shots. It's ridiculously good. So if you haven't used this setup, here is my preferred class for it. Really, sleight of hand and Dragon's Breath are the most important parts. You can play around with some range attachments, but this is really my go-to class for this. So that being said, let's move on to the next shotgun in this category.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
Whoa, you was dead on the
Up next on the list is the combat shotgun. Yeah, it might surprise you, but even after its nerf, I still think it's a great shotgun. I still think it's probably one of the best overall because of the damage it can do. It does lack range, but it makes up for it with great stopping power in its range, and it has great mobility and a fire rate that's really not that bad compared to the Hauer and the Model 680. Yes, it's not as fast as the VLK Rogue, but it's still really, really damn good. Realistically, your 2-shot kills are only going to be out to about 5 meters, which isn't great, but if you can hit your headshots and your neck shots and chest shots pretty well, you might extend that range if you're using Buck and Slug or Incendiary, but for the most part, you're going to be having 2-shot kills out to about 5 meters. But like I said, because of its fire rate and because of your mobility with it, it's still an excellent shotgun, and I highly recommend not overlooking it just because it caught a nerf. It's still incredibly good. Here is my preferred class setup I like to use for it. Recently, I've been using reduced powder with 12 gauge in the sawed-off barrel barrel because with reduced powder in this particular build, you don't lose any damage range. I think it's a bug with 12 gauge specifically, but you don't lose any range and you still get a little bit of a better fire rate that offsets that 12 gauge fire rate detriment. So it's still a great shotgun. You can also use incendiary and buck and slug, but this is what I've been using, sticking in that 5-meter range, and it's been a blast. Now, before I go over what I consider to be probably one of the best shotguns in the game, but also one of the most risky to use, but just insane overall, and has never caught a nerf, I want to go over my honorable mention. I did say top 5, but you know, this one is going to be like in 6th place. It's still a really, really good one with high risk and high reward sort of play styles. I love it. It's the Gracey Auto, and you might be laughing, thinking to yourself, that thing sucks, but why would you want to use that? Well, you're probably kidding it wrong. This thing is a CQB 1v1 monster, and I stand by that. I am very, very confident with this gun in my hand that I will win pretty much any 1v1, anything in that sort of 4 to 5 meter range. The reason for that is because with this build, you need to run extra pellets and buck and slug, and don't even worry about a magazine. The magazines slow your fire rate down, and it's just not really worth it in my opinion. And also, you can use the rapid barrel to make this thing have a really great time to kill and have the best time to kill of all the semi-auto shotguns that use buckshot in Warzone. So with the rapid barrel and the ability to 3-shot kill an enemy up to about 3.6 meters, your time to kill is about 416 milliseconds. And even out to 7.6 meters, you can still 4-shot kill, so it's incredibly strong. And because of extra pellets, you don't only lose 4 pellets, you lose 2. So you have 6 pellets plus a slug, and it makes this thing incredibly consistent. Basically, the way to work with this one is go up to an enemy and just spam the hell out of this gun. Now, you do need to use discard because you only have 5 rounds. Discard is the way to go. Don't use sleight of hand. Discard basically kicks in, which I actually didn't know until I received comments about it, but whenever your ammo count is red, discard kicks in and you reload much quicker, so I recommend it completely. But this gun, do not overlook it. This particular build, you can kind of just put the other ones to rest, but this extra pellets and buck and slug build, I swear to God, it's one of my favorites. It's incredibly strong. It's incredibly consistent like the 725. So give it a shot, guys, and let me know what you think.
What the fuck was he using?
Now, for the last one on the list, arguably one of the most insane gun setups to ever grace Warzone in history. That is Jak-12 with the slug rounds. That's right. Now, the Origin 12 does have slug rounds, and they are good, but they're a little bit harder to use, and I wanted to really talk about the Jak-12 Slugs in particular, even though Origin 12 Slugs are basically identical, just a slower time to kill and have a little bit more range, but the Jak-12 is much easier to use. Now, this thing is a menace. It hasn't been nerfed. I know I did mention that in one of my videos, but I checked the numbers and I actually got them wrong. So it looked like it caught a nerf in some ranges, but it actually didn't. So we're still good here. Now, the nice thing about this particular setup is that it has range. Out to 17 meters with no attachments, you can 3-shot to the body. If you're hitting the stomach, chest, or head area, it's going to take 3 shots. Now, the real kicker is the headshots, because out to 17 meters, if you just hit 1 headshot, all you need is 1 upper body shot, no arms, and you will kill someone in 2 shots. 17 meters, 2-shot kills if you hit a headshot. The time to kill for that is 200 milliseconds. I don't think you quite understand how fast that is. That is insane. That is literally 4 times as fast as some SMGs and ARs. It is just it's mind-blowingly and insane in the membrane type levels of fast. It's crazy. I seriously recommend using it. Now, this is slugs. The thing about slugs is you have to aim down sights. You absolutely have to. And it makes it a little bit harder to use for more novice players. And of course, you only have 8 rounds. Plus, it's slugs on a Modern Warfare shotgun. These things have a pretty slow muzzle velocity, and they're zeroed in at 30 meters, so past 30 meters, you have to start aiming a little bit higher. But if you aim for headshots and upper chest shots, you are going to delete people. It's going to be so fast that they're basically just going to explode. I mean, it's that fast. It's ridiculous. I cannot recommend this setup enough. If you have never used Jak-12 Slugs, Now is the time. Before Warzone 2 comes around, give this setup a try. This is my preferred class setup for it. Now, even though we aren't going to be hip firing with this thing really at all, maybe like 5% of your engagements, if that, it's really nice because this helps your sprint to fire speed, and this is sort of a gun you want to be aggressive with. Also, the Forge Tech Marauder is all you really need because this thing helps your muzzle velocity by a little bit, and it also increases your damage range, so you're not just getting 17 meters, it's more in that 20 meter range, so it's really nice. The Jackrabbit Ultralight stock is for aim walking move speed, which you're going to be aiming down sights all the time with this thing. I definitely recommend it. And also, sleight of hand is incredibly important because you only have 8 rounds. You need to make this thing work and then get the hell out and reload. Guys, there you have it, part 1 of my best shotguns of Warzone, the high risk, high reward version. Let me know what you think of all these shotguns. Like I said, part 2 is going to be coming out soon, and that's going to be the best sort of overall for people who are maybe more new to the game, just overall easier to use and good for trios and quads too. So let me know what you think down below of these builds, which one's your favorite, and with all that being said, I will see you in the next video.
Above you, above you, above you.
Yo, that shotgun is
This is
destroying
crazy,
this
bro.
motherfucker.